Comeback. Episode 2 of the marriage comeback. My name is Dan.
We didn't even plan that. I felt like that was good.
That was good. Really good job, honey. My name is Dan Henry.
And I'm Kellie and Dan.
And you may know us from our other social media platforms of the Oh.Henrys. And if you are here for the first time, I suggest going back to episode 1. It's only 25 to 30 minutes. I would go back to episode 1 so you can learn about what this podcast is about and what we're doing. And if you are back from the first one, welcome back. Thank you for joining us. Episode 1 was not an easy episode to record.
No, not fun for us.
We recorded it a couple times, and each time I didn't like it. And I'm glad episode 1 is done. But episode 2 is just as important to dive into.
Just as sucky for us to talk about.
This one's a little bit better. This one gives some substance to how we kind of recovered and how we have kind of healed and grown. And this episode 2, is called Healing After Infidelity.
You do that so well.
Well, you know, honey.
I'm really good at talking and doing this. He's so charismatic.
Stop. This is going to be a good informational podcast regarding, the understanding of why, the how, now what to do, and that's kind of what we're going to dive into. And we explained in episode 1, a lot of this is going to be healing on, the accuser and healing on Kelly's portion, which is, the victim of
the betrayed and the betrayer.
Good.
Maybe. I
Good.
don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what words we use
Yeah,
for this.
that's good. But we're trying to get both parts of this to where everybody can learn and anybody can learn from our mistakes and hopefully this reaches somebody that needs it and can help them in their marriage.
Yeah, and we've actually helped a few couples who have gone through infidelity just in our life that we know that have come to us, and we've worked through with them. And it's the sad thing about infidelity in marriage. The sad thing is the statistics on it, like the ratio of how many couples go through this. It makes me so sad. I've been in a room before with friends and couples, and I'm looking around and I'm like, wow, 50%. Like, we're at 50% in this room of people who have gone through this. So it's unfortunate that so many people feel this. So many people are triggered as they're watching or listening, just like we are, And so we just are coming to a place that we just want people to understand that we see them and that they're understood and that there's a place for them. It's a lonely feeling. It's a hard feeling. So we're just trying to give hope to those who are healing and hope to those couples who are wanting to improve their relationship, whether it's infidelity or other things that you might be struggling with. But this is just our story that we're talking about. We understand that everybody's journeys are different.
That's exactly right. So to begin this episode, I'm going to dive in a little bit of my side.
Yeah.
And rewind, 7 years ago, Kelly would ask, why?
That was the hardest question for me, was the why.
And it was actually the hardest answer. I didn't know myself. I didn't know who I was. And I honestly could never answer Kelly. I could never answer Kelly to the why. And it was never I never wanted to leave Kelly. I never wanted to leave my family. I never wanted that. I think it was the carnal state of my body, of the need and the want of my carnal body. And getting into therapy, I obviously learned, after the fact, of a little bit more about who I was and who I am and how I needed help. I have a very, very addictive personality. I'm a very addictive person.
Like when I say if Xbox was not a thing our first year of marriage, I don't think we would have had one argument.
Yeah.
But
it was.
But it was. And this guy liked to game.
I like to game. I dove into gaming. It's so funny now. I hate gaming. But at that time,
yeah, you've gone through different
I gamed
things,
and
golfing.
I think I might still.
You might still be, but you have a better grasp on it. Like gambling, like I can name.
Well, gambling 15 years ago was worse, extremely worse than it is now.
Yeah.
You know, I'm learning
because
as we
you
go.
grew and you understand
and
all of that.
And Coca-Cola was. I haven't had a regular Coca-Cola in I don't know how long.
There were times where you would drink Coke and be like, I don't know the last time I drank water.
No doubt. No doubt. And as of today, I've had a ton of water and one Diet Coke.
I'm proud of you.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I learned that I had that addictive, behavior in many things, not just in, what we're discussing now.
Sexually.
In sexual, sexual
podcast.
Yeah, we
I
can.
feel like this is an adulter podcast.
It is, and I try to avoid that in some other videos. So yeah, this is going to be interesting to get used to. But yeah, sexual addiction, and so that was something through therapy that I actually had to dive deep and understand how I was wired. And I have not, I guess, iterated enough that I will always be accountable for my decisions. I'm not blaming anybody. I'm not blaming anything. But a part of our growth and our learning is learning who I am, learning where I came from, learning my tendencies, and getting into therapy and diving deep into therapy. I was able to learn a lot about this stuff about me. But I definitely want to reiterate that I will never blame others for the decision that I made. At that time, I was in a deep hell, and I've talked about that. I've been in a deep hell, but the relief, I can't explain it because I went through it myself. I could never tell Kelly early on that it was just a massive relief.
Because it was not a relief to me to hear.
No, and it was, but for me, it was a massive relief that I could maybe somehow get out of this hell and darkness that I was in.
Because you were hiding. You had this like shame and.
Yeah, I was hiding.
I feel like that's what Satan wants, is to keep it all in.
Yeah, and it was. I was hiding. I was in I wasn't in a good place. But when that was brought to light, I was like, oh, I can actually work on myself. I'm gonna do everything I can. I'm gonna do everything and anything I can to show Kelly that this wasn't about that. This wasn't about leaving her. This wasn't about the family. This was a stupid carnal decision that I was making, and I think I was able to do that over the next few years. I did everything and anything to show my trust, to get my trust back, to show her that I loved her, to show her that I wanted to be a father, to show her that I wanted to be the husband that she thought that she knew, and that was my goal. My goal was to prove to her once again that I was deeply in love with her, that I wanted to do anything for her. I mean, she'll get into it, but she made a list of things. She'll get into that, but I didn't care what the list said. The list could have said, grow your hair out 20 inches. Like, I would have done it. You know what I'm saying? Like, anything on that list that she said I would have done, I would have shown that.
Some funny things on there. It was not a funny moment, but now looking back, I could have put some things on there.
Well, you could have. It definitely wasn't a funny moment, but to me, I didn't care what was on that list, right? But the therapy was incredible for me to understand who I was, and Kelly, I think, could understand and see kind of where I was coming from. Not to have any excuses, obviously, or anything like that, but so yeah, that's.
It was good to learn about addiction for me, like my side, to learn about it, like the process of it. There's a cycle to it, and how somebody copes with their triggers is a big thing that we learned. Yes. And that's what you learned about yourself. Like, what do I do when I get triggered? And we'll get into these things in a different episode, because I feel like we could do a complete episode on triggers and
coping,
on how to cope and how to deal with them. And so, but if you don't even understand that you have triggers, that's how you get into these situations. And if you're not putting in the
work and effort to understand it.
Yeah, but like doing the little things, like I felt like we had a great marriage before. I was really I didn't understand why. We weren't doing all the little things we needed to be doing, like to connect every day. But we had a good marriage though. My side of the story was obviously devastation when I found out. It was your whole world, everything that you think that you know about your life, literally getting flipped in 1 second. That was the craziest thing to me, was how quickly life can change. And so it was very devastating, and I learned that there's actually a word for that and an actual thing called betrayal trauma. And it's trauma, a traumatic experience from being betrayed. And I went to therapy and really worked on that. And it's not PTSD, but it's similar, obviously not as extreme with life-threatening situations, but it's, you have a lot of the same triggers and having to deal with that. So when I found out, obviously I was super upset. And, before we even got married, I was like, hey, just so we know, and we're on the same page here, if this ever happens, peace out, I'm gone. I said that multiple times. And so, you never know what you're going to do and how you're going to handle something until you're in that situation. It's kind of like parenting, when you think, before you have any kids and you see a tantrum or something in the store and you're like, I'm never going to do that, or my kids are never going to do that. And then you become a parent and you quickly realize that you don't know what you're talking about or doing, and you kind of understand other people. But my initial gut reaction was like, I'm done, I'm gone. And then I told him, I was like, I want a divorce, I'm out. Took the kids, I went to Idaho, that's where I'm from. We live in Utah. Took my kids to Idaho with my parents. They took care of my kids. I couldn't really get out of bed. They made sure I was eating because I didn't want to eat. And they were just so there for me, and I'm so grateful for them, because they really, really helped me in that time of need. And it was this really big battle between brain and heart, because my brain is saying, leave them. Our culture and everything that we see, if you type in anything into the computer about what to do with infidelity, I swear it was all leave them, leave them, leave them, leave them. So it was, I felt like I had the two people on my shoulders, pulling me both ways. Because I really felt strongly Jesus was there for me, and he was saying, give him a second chance. Give him a second chance for your family. And I'm like, but I don't want to. I'm so angry. I am so angry. And it was hard. It was really hard. But I felt like there was 3 reasons why I chose to stay. 3 reasons to give him a chance. I didn't know if we were going to make it, but I was going to give him a second chance. So the 3 reasons, first one was I felt like my Savior was telling me to give him a second chance. He was willing to work on it. He was willing to put in the effort. He wanted to stay, that's what he wanted to fight for our family. So I just felt like Jesus was telling me, give him that shot. And then the second reason was I knew I would have to answer to my adult children someday. Dan is such a good dad, and our kids just adore him. And how was I going to answer my children someday when they're adults and like looking at me if I chose to leave? And they said, Mom, you teach us to forgive. You teach us to be Christ-like, and you didn't even give Dad a chance when he was asking for it, when he was trying to put the effort in. Like we said, our situation and our story is different, than other people's, but he wanted to work on it. And then the third reason was I had a friend stop by who I grew up with, and she had been through something similar. And I was like, why did you stay? Why? And she said, I had two choices. To stay or to leave. And she's like, both options were really hard choices. They're both roads, both paths I take are going to be so hard. But only one path has the option of my family being together at the end of it. So like in my head, I'm like, no brainer. Like, why wouldn't I choose that one where I can have my family together at the end, possibly? So those are the reasons that I was like, okay, I'm going to give him a second shot at this. And so I was like, okay, what do we need to do? So Mama typed up a list.
Yeah. Yes, you did.
After I had spent some time up in Idaho with my family and I needed space, I needed a process, I needed to work through things, I came back and was like, okay, I'm going to give you 1 year. We set a timeline. I said, you have 1 year. This is my list. This is what we need to do. I'm willing to fight for this marriage and give everything I have for 1 year. If we are not better by then we just need to separate, because it's not fair to me if I can't forgive you. It's not fair to you if I can't forgive you. That's not a life we want to live, So we just really committed and we wrote it down, and I had a list of things for him to do, like things to do every day, things that he couldn't do, like golf was on there. He couldn't play golf just because I wanted him to prove to me. I put like little things like Coca-Cola, don't drink Coke. Small things that there was big things on there and there were small things on there to prove. Yeah. Because if you're willing to do the little things and the big things and all that consistently, then that would show me, because actions speak louder than words. You can tell me everything I want to hear.
And if you're listening and questioning your, I guess, trust level with your spouse or significant other, I think it's a great idea.
Yeah.
Put a list together. Both of you put a list together on, hey, this would make me feel better, or I would love to see you, do this or this, and not forcing them, obviously, but when you're in a state of, trying to build trust, it's a good way to manage that and to see that. And I knew that was on me. Yeah. And I was going to do whatever was on that list.
And I feel like sometimes people are so willing to just quickly throw away their marriage, and I'm like, in that moment, we had been married for 10 years. We had 4 kids. I was just like, we have built this life together, and we've been working so hard for these 10 years to get to where we are, and now this is happening. Life isn't black and white. Choices and decisions, I wish it was that easy. I wish it was that easy to know black and white, like what we need to do. But life isn't black and white, and we have to make some choices. And I was willing to put that trust, get that mustard seed of faith, and just be like, okay, Heavenly Father, you are telling me that I need to give him another chance, and I don't want to. But I know that's what I need to do for my kids and my family. So I'm going to do this, and I have to put trust in this process and move forward.
And I was very grateful that she had made that decision. Like she said, with the Lord helping her, and obviously she hasn't mentioned it, but her father was a massive part of kind of helping her understand, giving me that second chance. Her father was a massive part in us being where we are now. And I'm I'm grateful for him and the decision that Kelly made to give me that year and that list and everything like that. And now that she made that decision and she came home, it was time to start the healing process.
Start to put in that work.
Start to put in the work. We dove into the healing. I mean, this isn't a 1 week process. This isn't a 1 month process. It wasn't even a year process. I mean, Kelly gave me the year, ultimatum or whatever you want to call it. It's still going today.
There are times where I will be triggered or something.
And because of the therapy that we have gone through, we both know how to manage it
and communicate to it
significantly better than years ago. So how I started on me, helping me and fixing myself was I dove into therapy immediately. I dove into a personal therapy. We did couples therapy. I went into a 12-step process, and I was doing that.
We did group therapy
2 times a week, 2 maybe 3 times. I don't know. Something like 2 or 3 times a week is what I was.
You were in therapy like 3 nights with like the 12-step and the other therapy.
And initially it was dark. I was alone. I was learning about myself, and I hated. It was opening up my eyes to where I didn't even know, and I would just be like, this is insane. But I was learning, and the biggest kind of hope and part of my healing was I didn't see any end. I never saw an end. I never saw light. I was working towards it, but I could never see it until a few couples came in to therapy, and they seemed all so happy. I was like, what the heck are they doing here? I was like, this is not
happy couples.
I was like,
this group therapy
this is not a happy place. Why are they so happy? So, our therapist introduced them, and they were in those classes 5-10 years prior.
Yeah.
And they were explaining, you guys, this gets better. They're like, I know where you are. I've sat in this classroom. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, are you freaking serious? Like, it does get better. And one comment that he made was, our marriage now, and he was the me in the couple. He goes, our marriage now is better than it has ever been. He's like, I would never go back. I never want to go through what we did, but I will never go back. My marriage and my wife and my relationship is better than it ever was. And in my mind, I'm like, bull crap. But I kept listening, and the next couple did it, and the next couple did it.
So if you're listening and you feel like you want to say bull crap, we've been there. We get it. We're trying to give you hope.
And I'm just like, what the heck? This is insane. And one of them was goofy. He goes, and I know you guys don't think you'll ever have sex with your wife again. He goes, and he kind of like side-eyed. He's like, guys, I have sex like 2 or 3 times a week. I'm like, this dude.
Like, he's so proud, like he has a medal.
I was like, this dude is giving me the most hope I've ever had in my entire life. He's happy. He's gotten past this. She's happy. She's there smiling the whole time. She's happy. And that was the biggest, like, oh my gosh, like, and that actually comes back to when Kelly and I were talking about starting this podcast. I was like, if I can get anybody to feel the way that I felt in the situation that I was in, if I can get anybody to feel that way, we've accomplished something.
Yeah.
Because that was the moment for me where I was like, I'm gonna continue doing this, and if it's what this guy says, I want that.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you now, if you were listening, it's that. Kelly and I are better than we ever were before. We go on dates. We love each other. Our kids can't tell us enough to get our hands off of each other. We have sex multiple times a week, right?
Right.
I'm not lying. I'm not lying. We have sex multiple times a week. Our kids see the love that we have, and I want to give you listeners hope that it does get better.
It does. And, like Dan said, the first thing when I came back and we were starting this was I had the list, but I said, you have to work on you and fix you before this is going to work. And I have to fix me and what I'm going through. So we really, you guys, we were individual therapy. We were individually working. We didn't start working on relationship stuff for like a month or two, I feel like. It was a couple because months. We really had to dig deep into ourselves. And, people ask us, well, what do you do if you're struggling in your marriage, but your partner doesn't want to put in the work? And my advice would be to work on yourself. Put everything you have into like bettering you as a person. Work on your mental health. We learned about dailies in therapy and, doing the things that you need to be doing every day to be on top, to be your best self and to be on top of your mental health and your self-care and your spirituality, getting outside. There's lists and everybody's dailies can be different, but it was about working on ourselves as individual people first before we could work on our marriage. And so it's a lot and it's not fun to go through therapy. Like I would so look forward to therapy, but I hated it at the same time.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Like it helped us and I could feel it helping us. And I'd be like so excited to go, but I'd be like a bawling mess and hate it at the same time. It was so hard. But, Dan put in all the effort. He was all in. I was all in. He worked so hard on doing all those things. And so it's great to look back at your marriage and know that you've been through something that lots of marriages don't last from, and knowing that your partner fought for you. Like it's an amazing feeling that they were willing to walk through hell and back with you because it's that important.
I love you.
I love you.
Thanks for joining us on episode 2 of the Marriage Comeback. We dove a little into healing. There's a lot more to come. We'll be back next week.
Leave us your comments. Go to our YouTube channel. This video will be on, or if you're listening on the podcast, just comment. If you have any questions or you want us to talk about a certain topic, we want to help you guys. So we need to hear from you guys of, what we can maybe help you with. We've had a lot of time since, so we want to know if you're struggling, what we can help you with.
We look forward to that. We love you so much, and we'll see you next week. Bye.